Welcome back to the Best of LKN podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Hamm, and today I'm really excited to bring on one of the most successful local real estate brokers here in the Lake Norman area. Nicole Leininger is joining the podcast. She's a broker with Ivester Jackson Distinctive Properties. They are a Christie's International Real Estate affiliate. Nicole, welcome to the Best of LKN podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. You were kind enough to join me recently for a real estate podcast that I produced that with a with a national audience intention, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. It's always hard to line up the early guests, in order to get these platforms to gain some traction. So I'm always super appreciative when somebody takes a chance on me like that. So I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it.
You have had an amazing career since moving back here to the Lake Norman area. We're going to talk a little bit about that. For listeners who may not be aware, I'm going to share a few stats here. So 2024 sales volume, you achieved right around 39 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was 27 transactions. Was that correct?
Yeah, 27 or 28, something like that.
Okay. And that comes to an average transaction of around 1.6 million. But you also had an amazing opportunity, and I love the story. We're going to dive into it a little bit, but it was a record-setting sale in Cornelius. So looking forward to sharing a little bit of that story as well. So, Nicole, I know this is going to seem a little redundant because we just did this for another podcast recently, but for our local audience here in the Lake Norman area, could you share just a little bit of your background, hometown, education, and what drew you to real estate as a career?
I was born and raised in the southeast part of Denver, Colorado, and went to school in Fort Collins at Colorado State University. And really, my whole family has always been in real estate. My grandfather was a real estate agent, and so my dad started off on the building side and then went to residential sales. And so after college, I pretty much started shadowing assisting my dad and my stepmom, who were with Remax at that time. And I worked with them for several years. And then with my husband's job, we moved around a little bit. So I've actually been licensed in 4 states. And then finally, as a family, we've settled in North Carolina.
When did you what time frame was that when you settled here in the Lake Norman area?
Well, we first moved to Lake Norman in 2013.
Mhm.
And for several reasons, we had an opportunity to go back home to Colorado because my whole family is still there. And I was actually the first of 4 generations to leave Colorado. So we had an opportunity to go back in 2018. And just Colorado, it had just changed. It really wasn't what I remember growing up. And we missed Lake Norman so much. We kept traveling back and visiting friends and being on the lake, and we just missed the lifestyle here. So literally, well, in 2020, we decided to move back, and we moved literally the week of COVID is when we came back. But
So
now we're done moving. This last one was a family decision, and we're all happy here.
the decision was made before the pandemic was in full swing, I assume.
Yes, it was actually the
Yeah.
Labor Day before, but at that time, my 8-year-old daughter brought it to our attention. If we love it so much, why don't we live there? And it just,
I love it. Well, you moved back here to the Lake Norman area right in the spring of 2020, and your real estate business here, relaunching it here locally, got off to probably a somewhat slow start as everything was kind of at a standstill in the spring of 2020. Share a little bit about what your strategy was when you got settled here in the Lake Norman area and in that environment, in that economic climate at the time. What was your strategy for getting your business restarted here?
well, it was definitely a little bit unsettling just with the unknown because that was definitely before the market took off again because I did my onboarding with my office at that time and then literally doors were shut for 6 months. So I couldn't meet anybody, couldn't do open houses. Um, so I did go preview a lot of homes during that time of the when everything was shut down, and I would just pick homes that were vacant. So I wasn't bothering people and I wasn't around other people with all the rules we had to go by. And I would just show videos of the homes that I previewed with my cell phone. And even though I was doing a lot of business in Colorado, people here locally thought I was showing those homes, even though I was just previewing and really just learning the area again. And then also during that time, I just kind of thought about rebranding myself and really looked into video. It was something very new for me, but I knew that that was kind of like, I learned a lot in Colorado when we had lived there for those couple of years as far as how important video is and the agents that I worked with there, and wanted to really introduce it to my business here. Because a lot of the stuff marketing I saw in Colorado, I was like, why is that not on the lake?
Mhm.
And so during that time when things were slower, I kind of came up with my storyboard and my idea for the videos of Lake Norman. And at one of my first listings during that lockdown time, had a great connection with my photographer and kind of just brainstormed together and told him my idea. And we started making videos after that on a regular monthly basis.
The videos were really well done. You were definitely, I think, one of the first brokers in this market, in this area, to really start highlighting not only local properties on YouTube and video, but also town reels, a lot of highlights about things to do and places to go in the Lake Norman area. And have clients found you through that?
Yes, it did take some time with the consistency, and I'd say it took about 6 months of posting on a regular basis for it to gain some traction to start getting the calls. But now YouTube, besides referrals from past clients in my sphere, that's my largest source of business. But I would say YouTube is my second largest source, just by people finding me online. And not only is it just showing beautiful homes, but I show the lifestyle that people have around the lake and everything that you can do. And that's how a lot of people find.
You do, yeah. You and your family do live the lake lifestyle. Share a little bit about what are some of the activities that you and your family love to do here in the Lake Norman area. I'm familiar because I've watched some of your videos, but share for listeners who aren't familiar.
Well, definitely during the warmer months, just as much as we can, we like to be on the water, whether it's surfing or tubing or skiing. I grew up water skiing since I was about 4 years old, so it's something that I've always loved and just loved being on the water. So I like teaching kids how to surf and wakeboard. So I often take a whole group of friends or neighbors out and just spend all day on the lake. And then also
That's really cool.
have allowed us to use they have e-foils, which is kind of like a hover on the lake. And it is just definitely a different lifestyle as the lake life. Very relaxed and everybody has a great time.
I love that you've a lot of your videos you've incorporated the lake lifestyle, boating, the water sports, and the videos are really well done. They're well produced. They're not amateur vlogs like what I normally do. They're really well done, and but they're not like overproduced. Like they seem very authentic, and yeah, I'm just a big fan of that strategy in your marketing. I'm going to give you a chance to share a little bit more about your business and to brag on yourself a little bit and share with listeners a little bit about what sets your business apart in terms of marketing. I mentioned you're a broker. You're affiliated with Ivester Jackson Distinctive Properties, and Lori and Reed are well known and well respected here in the Charlotte and Lake Norman community, and actually in other areas of North Carolina as well. They've really achieved some amazing results in their careers, and currently have some listings that are just magnificent, and not just in this area, but other areas of North Carolina too. Share a little bit about what Nicole Leininger's business, what kind of sets your marketing apart, both as in terms of listings and clients, but also personal brand.
Well, I do. believe in having a luxury brand and a good company behind you. That is a lot to my marketing and my brand and my business. But I do think just having great relationships with both my clients and with other agents, because I always tell people that around the lake in Charlotte, it's the smallest big town I've ever lived in, where everybody knows everybody, word travels fast, but yet you still have that the amenities and everything like a big city would have. But just I think it's very important to have good relationships. I'm always willing to help other agents, whether or not they're in my office, whether it's marketing ideas. I have a lot of people reach out to me about video. I'm happy to share apps that I use, even my photographers. I truly believe there's enough business for everyone. So if we all help each other, we would all grow together versus competitive. And so really enjoy networking. And as far as for marketing, I do think the videos have really set me apart because, like you said, back 4 or 5 years ago, not very many people did it. Now, video is much larger here and vastly used for marketing, but I think being on the front end, of YouTube, it has really gotten me some traction early on.
I actually have a meeting after this conversation with Marine Max Lake Norman. I'm visiting their showroom. Speaking of the lake lifestyle, I'm excited. They have some amazing products over there. Uh, but yeah, I think that we talked in the real estate podcast that we recorded that you definitely have uh, your strategy is a combination of both digital and print as well, as far as like marketing here locally. Obviously, repeat and referrals are hugely important to any real estate broker, but I would say especially in the luxury niche, and that's I think that's a category that's safe to say that you specialize. Um, yeah, your marketing's been excellent. And speaking of collaboration and collaboration over competition, you and I connected, several years ago for a couple of blog posts that I wanted to put together for the platform. And you've always been very generous, very open, and willing to collaborate and contribute. So I've always really appreciated that. And then about a year ago, year and a half, I connected to do a walkthrough video of one of your listings and for our YouTube channel. The walkthrough videos of these magnificent listings on the lake have really like kind of boosted the YouTube channel for the best of LKN, and it seems to be what people have enjoyed seeing. So I've just given the people what they want.
Right.
So, but that's been
Yeah.
great. And you've also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, whether they're buyers or not, people love looking at homes like that. So it
Yeah.
always a lot of people just to see the amazing homes that are on the lake.
Definitely, yeah, and then since then, of course, I've visited a few of your other listings as well. So, I want to personally thank you. You've been awesome to allow me to do that and to work with. So,
You're welcome.
I
You're
just
welcome
wanted to mention that
to any of my
because
listings.
I'm sorry.
I said you're welcome to do that on any of my listings at any time.
I appreciate it. Yeah, well, I definitely will. I'm keeping an eye on your listings, so I'll be reaching out. I hope you don't mind me bugging you.
No problem.
All right, so let's talk about some highlights of 2024. There was a home that had an incredible amount of attention here in the Charlotte area. It was, it is simply a magnificent home on Lake Norman. I believe it was new construction, and it set a record. Share a little bit about that story.
Yeah, it was newer construction, so somebody had lived in it for I think about a year or 2 years.
Okay.
But it was the at that time, there are now higher priced homes available, but at that time it was the highest price home on Lake Norman. And just one of the most unique properties as far as for the amount of shoreline that it offered, the modern finishes with it being newer, and the location in Cornelius. So with it being such a high profile listing, it got a lot of attention as far as A lot of agents made videos on it. It was on a lot of magazine covers, and just fortunate enough to have somebody reach out to me that ended up falling in love.
I was at a an open house for another one of the Ivester Jackson listings. They're near that location, near where that home is located. Last summer, I was shooting a walkthrough video of that property for our YouTube channel, and the broker who was hosting the open house with your office, I won't mention her name, but she and I talked a little bit about that home, and she had mentioned that like very sincerely that home was her dream home, and for for a broker who has seen so many dream homes around Charlotte and Lake Norman to say that really impressed me. So I
Mm.
I missed an opportunity to see that home while it was on the market, but I did check out videos and the photos, and it is spectacular. But yeah, like you mentioned, there are some bigger listings on the market now. Every list there, it seems like all the every time one sells, another one comes along that's just even more magnificent and more expensive.
Well, and I do think that that was, uh, I guess, an eye-opening experience for a lot of the buyers and the agents around the area because it actually created multiple offers. So you hear of multiple offers on, you know, 600,000 and less, that there's a lot of buyers in that pocket. But that really told us how many ultra luxury buyers are out there that are looking at Lake, because that house, I'm to my knowledge, it had at least three offers. And I know that there were more people that had looked, and I know Lori was very busy showing it, so it was very popular, even though the price was one of the highest on the lake.
Yeah, that lines up with what I had heard as well, that it was a multiple offer situation and that there was a lot of interest in that home. And there have been some other new construction homes that not quite at that $12 million mark, but pushing 10 million in the on Lake Norman in this market in the last year that also sold relatively quickly. So it has been 2024. I think was an eye-opening year for the market, and I think the secret's out. If it wasn't already, the secret's out now about Lake Norman. A lot of folks, I talked to a lot of folks coming from California, from South Florida, from Arizona, and of course the Northeast. So
Yeah.
I think 2025 is probably going to be pretty exciting. What do you think?
Yes, I always say that people found our hidden gem because when I first moved here, it was still pretty small and not a lot of people knew of Lake Norman 12 years ago, it seemed like. So, yes, it has definitely exploded and has been found. I think 2025 is going to be very busy again. My prediction and other predictions I have heard is almost to the state of 2021 busyness. I've already been in multiple offer situations in December and January. So it's
Wow.
there. People keep asking if the interest rate is going to go down, and it hasn't. It's fluctuated by a half of a percent, and that's pretty much what it's going to keep doing. There's not going to be any big swings. And obviously, you can always refinance if it does drop. But if, people that continue to wait, now you're going to be in bidding war situations and actually pay over versus just getting something when they're ready, not waiting for the rate. But I'm the busiest I've ever been. I currently have 12 under contract right now. It's the middle of January.
Wow. Yeah, I know it may seem salesy to say this, but it's true. It's six one way, half a dozen the other. If rates go down, prices go up. So, I don't think waiting for that to change is a smart play. And clearly, I'm not alone because there are a lot of buyers in the market who aren't waiting or who aren't standing by, waiting for any news or change there. That they're not going to let the interest rate get in the way of what they want. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's been amazing. Speaking of, you mentioned, we talked a little bit about how important video is in marketing these days, and I didn't talk to you about this before we hit record. So apologize if if this is inappropriate, but I know that you have a pretty close connection to a media company here locally in the Charlotte area. Did you want to give them a plug?
Well, I guess I could give two a plug. I don't know if you know about both of them. Um, so the company that does my YouTube and has for 4 years is CDS. And I have partnered with them for 4 years and they help me with my local highlights. But also to my son Jackson Leininger and his friend Chase have created Four Horsemen Media and they have done my listing videos and photos for about the last 6 months, and they have just exploded. So my son is great with calling agents, connecting with agents, and he and Chase do a great job just kind of getting people what's trending, what music is trending, and just guiding agents on how to do social media and where to post it and what to say to really get the attention videos need. And then something else that I came up with Four Horsemen Media is we've been doing broker opens where other agents create videos for my listings. So it's a broker open for everybody to see the house, but then each agent can make their own intro and they can promote it on their social media. They can put the video wherever they want because the whole goal is for exposure and for them to buyer. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. But then that house now has 15 videos shared on 15 websites. So it's a new thing that's been going great for several agents have kind of picked up that practice.
I think that's really smart. So the walkthrough, the reel that they shoot, they basically and they can just change the intro for the same video to customize it for specific agents, whoever wants to share that.
Yep. Yeah, they
Yeah,
can say their name, introduce them, introduce the house, but then it has the reel of, all the exciting parts and the
yeah.
entertainment piece. But they do make it a little bit different for each agent, just so, that if we all follow each other, it's not the same exact video. They'll make different music or little tweaks here and there, so everybody has their own video.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been following CDS for a few years now because of the association. I actually found them through you and have noticed in 2024 Four Horsemen Media coming on the scene, and they're doing some really cool work as well. If it's all right with you, I'll drop a link in the description for this episode to both of those businesses.
That would be awesome.
The broker opens are a great concept. That seemed to have really taken off. It was never really on my radar before 2024, but it really seemed to take off and gain some traction. That concept in 2024 is that. Would you agree, or have I just been not noticing it's been going on for years?
I no, I've just been doing it the last few months, and I believe I haven't seen it from other agents, but it's a great way to get your listing exposure. And then I've also noticed it that agents that are
Mm.
trying to get into video and they don't know how to get into video, they might feel a little bit more comfortable. Just, not saying I'm a pro, but I'm there. So it's just kind of like, here's where I stand. Here's what I say. Four Horsemen will kind of say, here's an intro for you and give them little sentences. So to me, it makes people more comfortable and it gives them videos to post when they don't know what to post. So for either newer agents or agents that want to get into the luxury market, it gives them something to market and to promote that they're knowledgeable about that house and gets in front of those audiences.
I love it. Yeah, it's a cool concept. It's really um, genius to me. I just think it makes so much sense on so many levels. So I love to see that. One last thing, Nicole, I want to ask you before I let you go is, and we talked about this in the real estate podcast as well, and that is that the industry continues to grow from a perspective of the number of brokers, licensed brokers in the industry, and pre-licensing courses are full every week, and the industry is still very alluring. Obviously, there are a lot of things about the work that I think you don't realize until you get into it. That it's not all reels and fun and games for sure. But I wondered, if you would share some advice for anyone who might be considering launching a career, maybe switching careers or getting back into the workforce as a real estate broker. What would you recommend for that first year or two?
I definitely always tell people that you get out what you put into it. A lot of people get into real estate for the flexibility of the schedule and for being your own boss. But if you do not treat it as a full-time job, you will not make full-time income. And you need to constantly be learning. I tell people to follow people on YouTube. Every day I'm at the gym, I watch YouTube of something new, whether it's Instagram classes or other techniques from coaches, just to always be learning. Also, too, just to find an agent to shadow or possibly be on a team. A lot of teams throughout the area. I don't want to say they feed you leads, but in a sense, they will provide connections for people to start the business. And if you are not on a team, definitely get a mentor, just so you have somebody to give you that experience of how to show homes and how to write offers, because every transaction is different, and the real life is not really what you learn in class. I would also suggest courses like ninja selling. I did that in Colorado several years ago, and I would love to take it again because it just gives you common sense and basic sales skills that really build relationships that, teach you how to keep in touch with your sphere and have contacts to make those connections that lead to business. And never to give
Yeah,
up. Take
never
several
give up. Yeah.
closing, and I would say you have to have a little bit of money in reserve so you can market yourself and you have that money to start promoting yourself. And even to something else like hosting open houses for other agents is free. You should, if you're a new agent, you should have every weekend hosting an open house, because I think that's one of the best ways to meet clients. If they don't have an agent, that's a buyer walking through the front door. So that
Mhm.
was one of the very first people I met back in 2013, was somebody coming into an open house that I was hosting for someone else.
Yeah, that's extremely valuable. Really important to build that confidence and get that grow that experience early in your careers. Working those open houses, hosting open houses every weekend, and getting used to the questions that buyers ask, and so that you're prepared the next time. I know I've learned from open houses myself that I get some questions that I would have never expected, and it's very helpful to have the answer right off the top of your head. So
Right.
I definitely recommend that. Shadow or mentor someone. I'm a firm believer that I think that there's so much value in the concept of finding a mentor, offering to help a broker who is in the specializing in the line of work that you would like to specialize in, and has achieved something in their career that you would like to achieve that kind of lines up with your goals as well, and learn from them. Be a sponge. Offer to do. Just be helpful. Reach out and offer to help out in any way, and then consider being an assistant for a
Hmm.
short time. And I think that long term will serve you so well, and it's such a great way to jumpstart a really successful career.
Because it does tend to get so busy and go so quickly. If you don't learn the basics, I feel that, you'd kind of be unorganized and
Mhm.
chicken with your head cut off the entire time. But if you learn the basics, like when I first started with my dad and my stepmom, she made me memorize the contracts. And granted, that was long before like dot loop and everything, and we had to physically present contracts to people, but I could read them upside down, sideways, backwards, frontwards. I knew the contracts inside and out. And so it's stuff like that that seems tedious, but then everything else just flows when you have the basic background.
Absolutely. Never get bored with the basics, right?
Right.
And answer your phone.
Exactly. Yes. And so many people in this day and age, they think texting and emailing is easier, but people can just delete that. So absolutely answer your phone. Do not have a voicemail box that is full. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. And a lot of time it means so much more to make that personal connection and make the call versus sending a text or an email. And that's true for before and after transactions. I try to call my clients on a regular basis. Everybody I've ever worked with, I try to talk to multiple times a year. So it's just about having those personal contacts and and making the calls.
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier the blog post that I have on the Best of LKN that highlights 10 of my favorite brokers here in the Lake Norman area, folks who are very successful and doing excellent work, and really have earned their spot on that post in that article. But one of my criteria was when creating that article was they had to answer my phone call when I called them.
Mhm.
That was one of the criteria. There's a lot of criteria. I won't go into all of it, but one of the things, one of the check boxes was picking up the phone. So, and you're on that. You're in that article as well. You've been there a long time since the beginning, and so I really I can attest to the fact that you are someone who will, if you don't pick up the phone, you will call right back. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's really important. Nicole,
And a lot
I just want to say, I'll edit that out. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, a lot of people will say I don't answer because it's spam or it's a salesperson, but it wastes 10 seconds of your time. Because I have had numbers come through that say spam and they're not, they're people.
Hmm.
And so it takes 5 seconds to answer the phone. And if it's something you don't need, then you just hang up. But you could miss an opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, Nicole, I know you're busy. You have a meeting to get to shortly. I want to thank you so much for jumping on this call one more time with me to share a little bit about your business and your story with the Lake Norman audience. You're really, I think, really well known here in the area, and well respected. And it's an honor for me to feature you on this podcast. And I think that you're just, you're one of those local brokers who is doing really exceptional work and is really putting in the work and doing the right thing. So I really appreciate you joining the podcast. How can listeners learn more about you and connect with you?
Well, I greatly appreciate all of your support and everything that you have done to help promote me because everything that you do is always so helpful and always love chatting with you. People can reach me. All my contact is on my website, which is NicoleLeininger.com. Also, to all of my handles on Instagram, Facebook, everything is just Nicole Leininger Realtor. And also to phone number is 704-450-6280. And I will pick up the phone.
She will pick up the phone. Nicole, I'll have those links and
I
that
guess we don't say pick
information.
up it, right? Since you don't have to like physically.
Right. You'll answer, right?
I'll answer.
I'll have all that information, of course, in the description for this video. I'm sorry, this episode. And Nicole, thank you again so much. Nicole Leininger, an epic real estate broker here in the Lake Norman and Charlotte area with Ivester Jackson Distinctive Properties. Nicole, thanks again.
Thank you for having me.